One, two, okay, slide. Ready? All right, so let's move on and continue the lesson for teaching assistant course. So again, we're just continuing. We have a couple of materials ready. I hope you were doing your advanced reading. Materials were given to you earlier, but if you weren't able to do some advanced reading and make your own notes, it's okay. We're doing the class today. But to continue, again, we are in the teaching assistant class. And it says here on this session, techniques for creating a positive and inclusive learning environment. It's important. You, as a teacher assistant, you are working hand in hand with the teacher to create a positive and inclusive learning environment. That means that the students will be free of any distraction. The students will have a focus on the subject matter or to what the teacher will discuss. Say, for example, if it's your task to collect the mobile phones or the tablets or the gadgets of the students in the class and put it in a box, to avoid unnecessary distractions. You can advise the parents that in the classroom you are collecting their mobile phones. You can say that, ma'am, sir, we have a safety box where we get the gadgets, where we put the gadgets of the students. We put it in a plastic box or in a plastic where there is a name tag of the student. And then when your phone rings, say for the if there's any emergencies, you are be the one in charge to advise the student that, hey, student, your parents are calling. This might be an emergency, or probably at least you have given the parents advice that if there's any emergency at home, you will be the one answering so they won't be surprised. It's important, setting the expectation. A good and productive learning environment requires effective classroom management. As a teaching assistant, you have the role of making that environment good for the learners. What when we say good, as I said earlier, free from distraction and allowing the student to focus on the class. It could be an English class. It could be a physical education class. It could be a computer, a laboratory class. If it's laboratory class, that means you have to check the materials of the students. If there's any materials that may harm any of your students, you can advise that um, um, they have to handle materials carefully, you know, to avoid accidents, to avoid any um, circumstances or situations where the student might be in trouble. Say, for example, if you are going to do some cuttings and cutouts, that's a sharp material. Should you don't know the children right now and the behavior of the students, they might be those are sharp objects, and that can cause certain accidents. So we have to be mindful and teach the students to handle sharp objects carefully. You're getting my point, yeah? So you have to cut carefully. This is how you hold it. So safety is the topmost priority in the classroom. We give them advice. It entails putting tactics and techniques in place to increase students' involvement. Yeah, that's true. Students' involvement is important. Again, students right now have so many distractions, and one of which is mobile phones. I myself would be very distracted. If I'm with my mobile phone and I don't have focus, I tend to think outside from the main topic. So in a classroom right now, there should be that rule to keep the student from distractions. Maintain discipline. Yes, maintain discipline. That means that the teacher and the teacher assistant are the source of the instructions. They are the facilitators. So they should follow you. You are the leader of the classroom. You are the classroom managers. If you say that for the students to have the materials ready for the activity, as a teacher assistant, you get to check if all the materials are prepared. Some of the students might forget, and then you may try to lead them to someone. You can share, um, say, for example, student A and student B. Student B doesn't have the necessary artwork materials, but student A have like a plenty. You can talk to the student. Hi, it's really nice to share some of your things. Can we lend student B some of your materials? Then I will give you an extra point for sharing. Stuff like that. We are teaching student the value of sharing. You know, you're instilling discipline towards them and develop a sense of community in the classroom. I love this, a sense of community. What is a community? It's like there will be someone in charge, a leader, and someone would follow. They would having some healthy arguments and discussions within the team. We learned this back then when we are setting some officers in the classroom. Who would be the class president? Who would be the vice president? Sergeant of arms, treasurer, up until the last down to the muse and escort of the classroom. So that would be the setting a community, a small community in the classroom because you're giving them sense of responsibility, and the classroom is an opportunity to uh, help the students have that kind of exposure. When they're outside, they can use what they have learned in the classroom. And you, as a teacher assistant, have that role to teach them what it is really like in the outside world. All right, next, can you read this for me? Techniques of creating positive and learning in an inclusive learning environment. The best way to foster a positive, inclusive learning environment. Read the first one to me. Encourage active participation. This is what page is this? This is page 27. Mhm.
Participation from all students. Encourage students to share their thoughts, ask questions, and engage in discussion. Create opportunities for collaborative learning activities, work, and presentation.
Actually, this is that's true. You want to make sure that your students are in the classroom, the presence of mind, because they could be there physically, but the student might be wandering mentally. The student might be thinking about their trip to other countries or the game at the end of at the end of the class. They could be doing like a football match, or there will be some online competition that they're joining, so their mind is not present there. There will be some mental distractions, and you have to make sure that they're present mentally. How are you going to do that? Engage them. Call their names, just like what I did to you. I want to make sure that you are still here. Read. Yes, you can read. And then later on, you could like ask some questions, how to encourage them. Always relate your questions with the topic. Yes, like there's a certain topic. If our topic is how to foster a positive, inclusive learning, encourage active participation, just ask them to read. It's actually already a participation. Not necessarily that they have to explain what they read. Some of the students are able to do that. Then you may. What do you think about this topic? What are the right questions? It should be the why questions. Why do you think how, why and how questions should be asked? Because that's the time that they can, you know, think outside the box. Are you getting me with the how and why questions? If you only ask what, where, when, where, what, where, when questions, and who, those are factual informations. You'll just give the question right away. Like I'll ask you, um, who is the main character in Titanic? Rose and Jack. That's the what, who, where, when question. What is the name of the ship that sank? Titanic. All right. Now that's the question. Now what I will ask you the how and why question. Why do you think Jack did not fit in the floating door? It was a door that they're hanging. That's why they uh freeze. Why do you think Jack did not fit in the door? Do you think if Rose move a little and let Jack hang in the door, they would fit?
Yeah, you let know ahead of the door. So he did it just to save her.
Yeah. Do you think they would fit in the two of them would fit in the door?
Yes. How could they do that?
Yes. Do you think they would have both survived? See, that's the why and how questions. You let the student think. So ideally, you ask the how and why question because that's how the students will think. You will keep their mind focused on the topic. They would you lead them to what to think. All right. You might want to take some notes with that. The how and why question. Embrace diversity. Read it for me.
And we learning incorporate as teaching material in curriculum.
It's true. Embrace diversity. Emphasize and celebrate the diversity of your students. Lucky us that we are in the UAE and we are a melting pot of expats. That means that the students would be coming from different parts of the country, Europe, Asia, Africa. So you get to have when it comes to diversity in culture. So you have like plenty of examples. Use that. You as a teaching assistant, you can guide your students in the experiences of other students. Say, for example, if you are talking about um, like holidays, what could be the holidays um, in these Asian countries? What are the things that they celebrate? In the Europe as well, the weather, their experiences. So you can use that as an example because again, we're trying to build like a community for the students, and understanding other cultures is a good opportunity for them. It could be, you could use that in the future. I tell you right now, as early as like instilling to these young minds that um we are, there's a lot of opportunities worldwide. They can consider maybe studying in certain countries in the future. So they would have an idea, oh, if I study in the US, these are the options. Or probably if I'll just use study in Europe, this could be my experience. And I highly say that experience is the best, you know. You can learn from the story of other people. Use inclusive language. Read it for me. See it? Yes. After after embrace diversity. So that is page 28. Sorry, that's page 27.
Gender neutral language and avoid making assumptions about students based on their background. Encourage students to use English language rather than create any instances of exclusion or bias.
It's actually nice. Uh, we tend to be sensitive with the students. In other countries, say for example, Europe and America, they are somehow, um, especially for those young, like teenagers, they're kind of like woke in terms of like gender roles and identity. So some, especially in European countries. This could be just an example, but not applicable here in the Middle East. Some of the students may identify trans. So instead of like a male-born student and then transitioning to being a female, so that student might not want to have been like called he, him as a pronoun because that student is already transitioning. The student wants to use she, her pronouns. So you cannot say to a child transitioning because she felt that she's a woman. But this is applicable in the European countries and in America. But in the Middle East, what you are, what gender or uh, like if you're a male-born student, I mean, if you're a male-born student, you're a he, him. If you're a female-born individual, you use she, her. That's very important. You have to be culturally sensitive. You cannot assert because there is a law in certain countries and in the Middle East, um, like going outside these stereotypes, these gender roles is a crime. So we have to be particular with that. You can, like, homosexuality is a crime in certain countries, especially in the Middle East. So we have to be sensitive somehow. It can be tolerated, but you as a teacher cannot be somehow uh, breaking rules with that. If you see a student flamboyant, yes, you cannot be calling or giving names to that student. No, that's still offensive. You can be called out. You can be charged of discrimination. So you could be sensitive. But again, this is a small community in the classroom. Uh, I personally think that teaching them to be sensitive, not be offensive, have the understanding towards individuality is important as the adult in the classroom. Teaching assistant job in the Middle East, uh, you mostly uh, you are managing young people. You are the adult in the classroom. That's why you know better. It might not be information wise, but living in the society community out there, you have so much experience. So you just have to like meet them. If you see the children bullying a flamboyant student, again, the goal is to have a learning, like an inclusive and positive learning environment. So how could be that an inclusive learning environment if there are student being bullied, of being flamboyant, right? Um, what if the student is being bullied because the student, especially the young student of ages 10 to 11, would having some changes when it comes to their puberty, they would start to sweat, and that sweat causes them to somehow spend, yeah, and people would be or like through whatever they eat, right, it would have like some smell, and the students tend to somehow give feedback that are little offensive or not completely acceptable. So you as a leader, the adult in the classroom, it's your responsibility to have this. How are you going to manage? Talk to the student. Again, that's not offensive. You are the adult in the classroom. Student A, I think like you being a young, um, I mean, during this age, your body is changing. There are some things that is going through your body. If you sweat from the PE class, I think it is proper for you to use deodorant. Yes, the PE class is in the morning. The next class is mathematics, English, science. You come to the classroom a little sweaty, and that have like smell that your classmates not completely like. Okay, so do you like to get this kind of feedback? So I tell you, you can bring your perfume, you can bring your deodorant, you can bring your foot powder in your bag or in your locker. So whenever that you come in the classroom, you would smell good. Yeah, because we want to create a positive and inclusive learning environment for the student not to have that kind of feedback that will um, put the students' confidence down if people are like somehow bullying or like trying to isolate because of that. Mary smell like mouth smells like this and that. And then they would avoid the student. The student would have in the mind, why are they avoiding me? You are the adult. You know best. And then you tell the student. The student will learn, like listen to you. You have to bring this next. Boys, girls, if it's a co-ed, it's just proper for you to bring your perfume. It's very affordable. Your parents would have that. It's important that you get those in your classroom or in your pouch or in your bag. You have a big pack bag. I mean, you put just perfume, deodorant in your bag. That's a good manner and hygiene. Next, promote mutual respect. Read this for me.
Encourage students and others to each other in kindness and empathy. Address any instance of disrespect promptly and help students understand the impact of their.
Yes, that's true. As the adult, as I said again, this is your task. If you are managing a young people community, if you see that the student is having like a bully attitude or behavior, you have to address that. Imagine being a parent of a bullied student. Your child is being bullied at school because of um, not taking a bath uh, like regularly, smelling bad going to school, not properly um, groomed, going to school with like some dirt in the eyes, yes, saliva marks, in the because they went to the school late. There's no time to brush their teeth. So, you're adult there and you have to promote mutual respect without embarrassing the students. This is a great deal. Right now, people are sensitive. So it's just proper for you to teach um, students to be respectful to one another. Yeah. Say, for example, you have a Filipino student, they had daing in the lunch that could smell bad. How are you gonna tell the student that um if there's any possibilities that we can avoid bringing because your student are very sensitive with the smell of that daing because it's a cultural thing somehow. I want to share a story. I have this friend, they're from South Africa, and then they would hate their Filipino neighbors because they're continuously or regularly cooking daing. Yes, the dried fish, and it stink in the whole floor. And then literally they would feel like bad. Why does the hallway smell like that? So they would adjust and they would light up a bukhor, that incense thing. So it would smell, uh, it will counter the smell. But he would tell me like, why would you eat this this food? Let me just pause for it. All right, let's resume our discussion. We are still talking about how to create a positive and inclusive learning environment. We said mutual respect. Now we have provide constructive feedback. Can you read that for me? 28, page 28. Provide constructive feedback.
Give timely and constructive feedback to students, focusing on their efforts and improvements rather than solely on grades or achievement. Encourage a growth mindset for students to setting and achieving their goals.
It says they're timely and constructive feedback. If they did something in the classroom, that is like an extra effort, that's actually a good time to give them that feedback. If they have a homework, if they have a school activity, provide a constructive feedback or like appraise them. When we say uh, that it's constructive, there could be some instances that the student might have done something um, that needs some improvement. Say, for example, they are to create solar system, and then they still create a solar system, and there's still 9 planets. Did you know that there's only 8 planets right now? It's no longer 9. Pluto is not considered as a planet anymore. Yes. So it could be it's an outdated project. So you can say that how to say this is how you like give a feedback that is opposite of constructive. Mary, you did it wrong. Didn't you know that there's only 8 planets right now? The solar system model that you create still has 9. Are you not reading the material? Are you not reading your notes? Didn't you see that on your book? I thought you're always on your phone. You're always watching TikTok. Is it not in your TikTok? Or probably you're just watching TikTok of those crushing candies in your mobile phone. So that's the opposite of constructive. How are you going to put that in constructive? Mary, based from our materials right now, it says here that it is 8 planets now and no longer 9. So Pluto is no longer considered as a planet. So we should update or we should remodel your solar system project like a demo. So we will remove Pluto because there are only 9 planets. It would help you if you could read your materials, if you could check and counter or probably make sure that the facts that you have available is correct. Why do you think the project was incorrect? Maybe it's not the student that did the project. The student asked someone else to do that. That person is not updated. So the project is, yes, because of that. So you have to give feedback. A constructive feedback is when you acknowledge what is um, the matters that needs improvement, and then you give suggestion in a manner that is not embarrassing to the student. Because we don't want in the future that the student will be traumatic in the situation or the scenario will be traumatic because it will demotivate the students. Nowadays, students are sensitive. Um, like giving because this generation, the young generation right now, there's no um, there's no situation that they get beaten by their parents as the punishment, unlike during their early days. I would still remember my math teacher um, giving us homework, and then if we answered the wrong answer we will be hit by a stick. That was my experience. Now it's a crime to hit the student. It is punishable by law, and that can be categorized as abuse. You can no longer do that. So how are we gonna bridge that kind of discipline in a manner that we will not embarrass the student? Anyway, so that's constructive feedback. Acknowledge what needs improvement in the output of the student, and then suggestion of how to improve it. Adapt teaching methods. Read it for me.
Recognize people. and kinetic approaches. Provide alternative assessments and assignments to ensure students can demonstrate their understanding of different.
What are the senses? What are our senses? Sense of sight, sense of smell, taste, touch, hearing. So those are our senses. So in the learning activities of the students, we kind of give them, I use this in my IELTS classes. We give them a picture and we use our senses in describing because that will help them to picture the lesson. We give them like a description of imagination using your senses. So that helps in your teaching methods because you're creating a picture in their minds. Say, for example, if you are describing a fiesta, say, for example, you're in a history class and a Philippine fiesta in the Philippines. You're picturing, you're trying to describe it with your students. So how are you going to use that with your senses? Sense of sight. You can say that in the festivals, let's choose flower. Oh, I mean, in your city, what festival do you have? Yeah, where's your city? Bicol City, Peña Francia. Now describe Peña Francia for me. Sense of sight. What can you see? A decorated float. Yes.
And
Describe the float to me. They would do the procession, right? In the streets, and then they will end at the river. Is that river? Lake. Yes. And then they would decorate the boat. Yeah. You remember the Pagoda tragedy? Which year was that? Yeah, but there was that, right? It's the Peña Francia. Pagoda tragedy is there. So describing it, that's your sense of sight. Sense of hearing is the band. Yes. Lively. Yes, lively music will be played by different instruments. Wind, drums, trumpets. What else? That's your sense of hearing. Sense of smell, food. What are they preparing? Is there a delicacy that is uh, are they grilling it? Were they be grilling it on the streets? You can smell the grilling of the people along the streets. You can smell the savory delicacies and during the Peña Francia festival, and that sense of taste. Describe the food. What is your favorite food during Peña Francia? Bicol Express. Ah, Bicol Express is a delicacy in Bicol, yeah. So that could be like a spicy delicacy, and the Oragons or the visitors, yes, and then that would be their taste, their cravings for spicy food. So that's for taste. What about for sense of touch? Would it be sunny? Would it be during the Peña Francia? This is August, right? Which month? September. Is it rainy or hot? Yes. But in general, it is hot. See, then that's the time that you describe it with the sense of feeling. You can say that um, the procession will start in the what time? In the morning? Ah, so yes, and watch the procession. So it kind of be cold at that time, and then eventually later in the morning when the sun rises, the shine will be tolerable until 11, where it's really hot, where you need to use the umbrella. So that's the sense. So now, when you describe those, I would have the picture in my mind. You're painting picture in my mind. So that's actually a good teaching using your um your senses, visual and auditory. It's audio. You could play some videos for your students to actually hear how the band music would look like. Kinesthetics approaches, this means movement. There will be involvement of movement. You could have them do some exercises or physical activity. All right, let's move to address bias and stereotypes. Read it for me.
Be aware your own biological stereotypes, stereotypes, and work against them as stereotypes too. But it's critical thinking about bias and prejudice. Incorporate diverse perspective and multi multicultural content into your lesson.
Right, I like this. There will be some bias and stereotypes that is present, and this could be uh, it is opinionated. It depends on your perspective, and it depends on your upbringing. How are you discuss this to your students? Bias of certain situations. So the recent news that I saw was in the metro stations. In the metro station, you would see a video where people are um, cramming just to go inside the exactly. So people are like cramming just to get inside um, the metro, and then um, since that went viral, people would have some feedback or comments on that video that says, um, don't treat this as your country, stuff like that. This is like biases towards a certain community. They would say that because they are this nationality, so they would treat and they would bring their practices back in their country here in Dubai, where they would just literally ban you, um, like like a stampede, like just for you to get in the metro. Yes, yes, like people, they will not let the people go in outside before they go in. So so what's the bias there? You could be biased of their nationality, saying that because they're this nationality, that's their practice from their country, so that's the thing that they would apply. So what will be your stand there? I personally would be neutral. I might have um like certain idea or certain opinion on the situation, but I would rather be diplomatic and be Can you like close the door? There would be some instances that you be um could be biased in that situation. Probably they really like that back in their countries, and that's their practice. They would really um bang you or like yes, pushing you like physical. Uh yes, that could be your situation in the train. Uh but how are you gonna be diplomatic and neutral about the situation? I personally would think um, it's not about nationality. It's probably because there's not enough, um, like, how would you call that? The no, not enough trains. Yeah, but I think with my metro experience, there's not enough trains. Like in Union Metro Station and in Worjuman, it's chaotic. Every time, every rush hour in the morning, in the evening before they're like leaving. Yes, like the office hours, the end of the office hours. I personally got my own gold card because it would be more comfortable. I would not be standing to another person, hearing how he breathes because you're close to each other. So I would adjust because that's the situation that the um silver yes, true. In the silver part of the metro, I took gold because that's the comfort. I mean, that's where the comfort is. You get to sit, or if you stand, it won't be too tight. You would still have a space. Yes. So I adjusted, I personally think that there's not enough um uh like train. Wait, let me check the English for what do you call this? Bagon in English. Wagon. Wagon. Yes. Bagon rail. Yeah. It says rail carriage. Yes. So there will be not enough rail carriage. Because if there's so many people, that means it's not enough. Probably the 2 dirhams payment in the metro station is not enough to buy new rail carriage. But I personally think it's not enough because that's the really tight. Yeah. So that's my opinion. And that's, you know, for you, it's always when you are a teacher, um, I learned this, um, I learned to be diplomatic. I learned to be neutral in my opinions and in my take in any matter and situation. Always in the middle. So you cannot be agreeing, you cannot disagree, always in the middle, meeting halfway. All right. Next, we have collaborate with families and communities. Read this for me. Still the same page. You make partnership with them. You advise the parents that they would need guidance because it's collaboration. You can talk to the parents that The student is having difficulty in learning certain subjects. The student might need some tutorial services. Like you can say, parent, I think your child has difficulty of learning this subject, mathematics. You might consider getting a tutor to tutorial services outside the school hours. So they would have an additional time because here it's a classroom setup. There are 15 students. The teacher might not be able to focus completely in 15 students at a certain time. They only have 45 minutes of learning. And if your child might not be able to catch up, the student might have um, a score or like a grade that is lower than your expectation. So that's our suggestion. You collaborate. You talk to the parents. You give certain feedback to them. So right now, you being a facilitator and teaching assistant together with the teacher, you can do collaboration within yourselves. You see, that's your feedback with the student. You have 15 students. You are going around. You're the one checking as a teacher assistant, you're the one checking the scores. You could say that this student consistently for the past 3 months getting lower average score. So we might need to give a program to the student. Behavior management techniques and strategies. That's the next subject.